super excited to have Payman here. He's going to come up and he's going to talk about the road back and kind of dealing with loss. And so I'm super excited he's here, and he's going to come up and he's going to tell his story. So everybody give him a big warm welcome. He's going to tell you who he is and what his favorite name is.
Okay, that one's easy for me. First off, my name is Payman. We educate, empower, and advocate for those seriously injured in auto accidents. 100% without a doubt, the way I decompress is by going on walks. We can have an opportunity to take the kids and the dog, and we're golden. So I gotta first start off by saying that this presentation is really near to my heart. Sarah's kind of dealt with a little bit of it when I presented at another meeting. It's a hard topic for me to discuss, and it's really important I think we start talking about these things together. But there's 3 questions I want you all to consider now, and I'm going to bring up at the end of this topic as well. The first one is, what if you can turn your losses into purpose? And what if you can help others by virtue of doing so? The second question is, what if we shared our losses? And what if we came together with our losses? And the third thing, which honestly this morning and every time I do this, is what if we talk about what hurts? And what if we were brave and shared our story? In order to do so, I first have to talk about the origin. So the origin, this would have been when I was 13 years old. I worked a paper route, and I worked a paper route because I was so excited to buy a dirt bike. And so every month I'd wrap up these papers, I'd throw the papers out, and I'd collect tips from each and every one of these stinking houses. In conjunction with working this paper route, my dad helped chip in to buy my first dirt bike. And my dad had also rode. In fact, before he immigrated to America, he rode motorcycles in Iran. We started our practice in 2014, and when we started our practice, we did a lot of different areas of law. But what stuck with me most profoundly is that I spent some time at the prosecutor's office. And when I worked at the prosecutor's office, I remember going into court. It was really, as an aspiring lawyer, one of my first times going into court. And I remember I'd see defense counsel time and time again walk into court and meet their client for the first time in person. And the ridiculous thing about this dynamic is that these are people facing criminal charges that are going to lose their liberty, their freedom. And for people to meet with them the first time at court is really a shame. It wasn't what was right. And from the second year of law school, I sort of made a statement to the universe. I made clear to everybody that we were going to start a business, we were going to start a law firm. In fact, we were voted most likely to start a law firm because we told everybody we were starting a law firm. But we truly believed that we could do better for people. Throughout the years from 2014 till 2022, we took what practice areas we had and we whittled them down to one practice area. And I can tell you in 2019 and 2020, I had a job that was financially fulfilling, it was professionally fulfilling, but candidly it was not personally fulfilling. So 2019, 2020 was really kind of a point of reflection for me as to what I was going to do. In 2020, there was a call to adventure. My dad had worked for KCPD as an electrical engineer for nearly 30 years, and he retired at the age of 65. This is a man that started working at 12 at a body shop in Iran. He pretty much never stopped working. But finally, when he retired, an opportunity arose to where we could plan this cross-country trip. And so the plan was, and I owe a lot to my wife, she was willing to man the house, man the office, and allow me to take this trip with my dad. But the trip was to take place, to go to California, and to come back. And in August 2021, that plan came to fruition. The trip was amazing. Candidly, it was breathtaking, and it was probably one of the most freeing and bonding experiences I could have had with my dad. It was a trip that I was long to go on, and it was really nothing short than we hoped for, until it wasn't. In September 6, 2021, while we were riding on the highway close to San Clemente, there was an SUV that rear-ended my dad. Now, the irony of the story is that when my dad first immigrated to America, he actually arrived in California. And this is actually where he lives as well. Kind of a weird parallel for what happened. the unfortunate thing too is we were on the most beautiful roads in this country. If any of you all have been on Highway 1, San Clemente, California, it's amazing. So the whole dynamic is just peculiar to say the least. When this accident happened though, to be honest, I was in disbelief. I took my motorcycle, I rode next to my dad, I reached under the SUV and I held his hand. And what I told my dad was it was gonna be okay. And I remember repeating that over and over and over because sincerely I believed it. I thought my dad was gonna be okay. After waiting under that SUV for some time, there was an off-duty paramedic, a guy by the name of Ross. And I'll say there's two people along the story that they deserve so much credit. Ross was an off-duty paramedic, and he had spent time with his family and was driving up north in California. He came upon the accident, and he chose to get out of his SUV and come and help. Ross had no obligation to do so. He was the guy that checked my dad's pulse, and he was the one that said he didn't have a pulse. There was also a guy by the name of James, who was just a motorcycle rider that just stopped at the accident scene and stayed with me for hours. Like, truly by my definition, these people are heroes in our society. What I told you was that I was in a state of confusion. This photo is actually an application. I had thought about becoming a judge. I don't think a role that I would have actually fit into. But this accident only made me more confused. In 2021, my wife and I thought about shutting down the practice. We thought about changing our practice areas. As I mentioned, we thought about taking the bench and becoming a judge. But nothing really sat well. Nothing seemed right. From the date of the accident till about a year after the accident, we worked with counsel in California on the case that had taken place. And in 2022, that case resolved. Now, similar to the experience I had at the prosecutor's office, there was sort of an enlightened moment. The law firm did everything that a law firm would traditionally do. What they lacked, though, and what many law firms lack, is that sort of human element. And it's unfortunate, because it's what's most needed in people's darkest days. But there was a realization. That realization, just like when I was at the prosecutor's office, was that we can do better. What we've learned is that Ashley and I have an amazing ability to listen to people's story and empower them by advocating for them once understanding their story. And seeing this time and time again, we said, what if we took our loss and what if we leaned into it? And what if we helped people that have gone through what we've gone through? Now, what we've heard many times clients say is that one of the most empowering things is that we listen to them. We'll talk about this in a minute as well. What I have to tell you is that I sort of hide clues of this story. And the reason I hide clues of this story, and it wasn't until this year that I really started sharing the story, Kevin, you're one of the few people that really know the details of what happened, is the story isn't easy to tell. Like, even standing up here right now, I'm holding in, trying not to cry because it's emotional to talk about this stuff. But I think it's really important that I be an example for others, to lean into our stories and to help people through times where they feel they're hopeless and directionless. So many people may recognize this mural, but what many people don't know is this was one of the first acts that we did after the accident. It was actually a quote from my dad's quote book. He had a tendency to collect quotes, some of which are silly, some are inspiring, some are all sorts of different quotes. This quote specifically is just the beginning of it. And the way the quote ends is that it says, all endings are just beginnings, we just don't know it yet. So, what do we do? Well, officially in November of 2022, we made a decision. We said we're going to lean into this loss and we're just going to represent people on personal injury cases. All the practice areas we had before, we were going to work down. We weren't going to tell the clients to go elsewhere. We were going to finish their case, and we were just going to work on personal injury cases from that point forward. Our goal was to help people who had also been through tough times. So now, what do? I say we educate, we empower, and we advocate for those people that have been seriously physically injured in auto accidents. And what we're doing every single day is we're learning. But we're also training. We're training people in the office. We're training people that work with our clients to treat these people like humans and not like cases. To mostly listen to their story and to empower the client by telling their story. What I've learned is this. Too often we all walk around and we ask each other, we say, how are you doing? And we all give these superficial answers of fine. But we really never take the time to be curious, to dig in, to understand what's happening behind the scenes and below the surface. when we take time to actually be curious, and we take time to actually listen to people's story, we learn amazing information. And what we learn is what ties us all together as humans. So I wanted to take just a moment. I want you guys to see a glimpse of what it is to listen to someone's story and how empowering it can be.
To see my wife actually feel a little more, relaxed that, somebody's going to listen to her story, because she feels, at that point in time, she felt like nobody was going to believe her. Everybody looked at her a certain way. And everybody at your law office actually, was actually perfect. I mean, personality, talking wise, they always greet us when you come in, want a drink. I mean, you guys make us feel like family.
When I first walked in the door at the law office, I physically did not feel well. I had a lot going on. I did not feel good about myself and the way I looked. So just going into public was extremely stressful. And I was accustomed to people staring at me in public and just ignoring me, pretending like I wasn't even there. And that was a totally different experience, walking in, being greeted with a smile, come in, sit down, not, being treated like a human being, given respect as a human being. It was different for me. That's something I hadn't experienced in like a year and a half at that point. When I left the office the first time, when I walked out, I had hope that we were going to win this, that I was finally going to get to tell my story and to a court of law that could do something to help me and other people. And that's the first time. That's the first time I thought, just maybe. We can't fix what's already been done, but we can prevent it from happening to other people and possibly make him pay financially for what was done.
Behind every good man, there's a great woman. And honestly, you had somebody that had your back and was going to help you along the way, and she's been there with you from what I see. And that's how we are as a couple as well. I think it's what makes us so relatable to each other. Is because, like I said, beautiful kids, we got so much going on that, the whole world doesn't always know, because they don't take the time to listen. And like I said, it always starts with listening before talking, and you were willing to listen. So, in my opinion, it was everything to us.
So, what I'll tell you all is this. In many respects, we're on the beginning of our journey, but first and foremost, our goal is to provide an atmosphere where people are comfortable sharing what they've gone through. I'm hoping that as we all begin to trust each other, we create this atmosphere and we can help each other overcome the tragedies that we all face. So, as you all have heard me say, we educate, advocate, and empower those that have been seriously physically injured in auto accidents. So if you know somebody needs help, I hope you keep us in mind. But I want to end on those same 3 questions just for you guys to continue to reflect on. Which is, what if you turned your losses into purpose and you embraced the loss to help others? What if you leaned into your losses and shared your losses with others? And what if you were brave and talked about what hurts and what's scary to talk about?